Well, good evening. It's been a couple of weeks. Tonight's episode is all about superheroes. I am Kat. This is Buckets, and we have our dear friend Leon. Hi, how are you?
I am a super zero. In other
Cool.
words, I've got absolutely no idea about superheroes, but we'll see what we can do anyway. I'm going to go into like a phone box outside and try to change outfits, but people are going to say, why are you doing a nudie run in the bloody phone box for?"
Yeah, they call that a streaker in our times now.
Okay,
That's
so
why I make sure I drink lots of Windex because I have a strong urge to take my clothes off and run around, but Windex prevents me from streaking.
Windex solves everything, according
Yes.
to.
so let's
anyway.
get started. Back in the day, superheroes were fun, educational, exciting, and different. We had superheroes such as Wonder Woman, Spider-Man, He-Man, Batman, Captain Planet. We had Iron Man, and we had Robin. Now, and so on and so forth. These superheroes were looked up to and loved dearly. My first question to you, Leon, is: have we made our superheroes to work?
Oh, they've been too woke lately, especially I can't remember which one it was, but one of the superheroes just recently decided to go woke and all that sort of stuff. We don't need that kind of stuff in our with our superheroes, I mean, have a cause, right? That's fine. Like maybe Captain Planet, he has a cause, he wants to save the environment. He doesn't want to save the environment by going woke.
Do you think they're
Well,
too-
I mean, technically, Captain Planet was woke before there was woke, if you know what I mean. So when Captain Planet when his cartoon or the entire cartoon, which was Captain Planet, that was completely different to all the other cartoons because it basically held a lot of truths. So, but it wasn't to the point where it was completely overpowering, where other people felt, somewhat awkward or whatever. It was just a gentle, educational, fun thing that was sort of similar to Superman, which I kind of liked.
And there wasn't that many cartoons like that around.
No,
That's why I look at Captain Planet as probably one of my favorites because he's not, I don't know, he's not really a superhero, he's more of a cartoon character, but still the meaning is there, which means he's done something really good there.
Alrighty, next question. With great scrutiny, with quote modern day superheroes, have we not realized that the modern day Mary Sue is really the male Superman? Do you want to explain that? That was your question.
Actually, yeah, it's really funny because it's like one of the reasons why I loved Superman so much is because I was a kid enjoying Superman, but he basically did everything. Okay, there wasn't really, I mean, there was a backstory where his planet was destroyed and he had to pretend to be human. But he was basically good at everything and he can do everything. Now, today, there's this sort of Mary Sue thing where we have a female character that can literally do everything. But because our thirst and our needs have changed throughout the ages. Before, we didn't give a damn about any sort of backstory, really. We just wanted to see people fight and have action scenes. But now we kind of want our action movies to be more scientifically correct, if you know what I mean. Like, we want them to be more realistic. And because we've demanded them to be more realistic, we scrutinize our Mary Sues if they're good at everything without training. So that's where the scrutiny actually comes from, which is like, it's not good enough just for them to be good at everything. They have to be good at everything, but go on a hero's journey. And I think that's why a lot of people kind of, for lack of a better word, give them a hard time, give female characters that are basically good at everything for the sake of being good at everything, or for the sake of being female, without actually having a real backstory as to why they're the best of the best of the best. But the stories like Star Wars, for example, well, particularly the old Star Wars, where you've got Return of the Jedi, A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, you'll find that characters like Luke Skywalker, he was training to be a Jedi as opposed to actually just being a Jedi, like from the get-go kind of thing. And I think people appreciate that more because they recognize working hard to be the best as opposed to being the best without any backstory.
I kind of have to agree, because I feel like compared to before, when, as Bucket said, the Mary Sue's didn't have a backstory, they were just seen as, the damsel in distress by day, and what's the correct polite word of saying that, someone like Mary Jane or Catwoman or Batgirl, or whatever, like in the daytime they come across as, the damsel in distress needs rescuing, but at night she turns into this sexed up, outfit that, leaves little to the imagination, if you don't mind me saying so, and turns her into this vixen of the night. And I think now we see Mary Jane or Supergirl or, Batgirl or whoever or in Star Wars, Rey as this empowering female who takes the lead over the superhero guy and has more of a backstory, and isn't the damsel in distress anymore. Like, she's, strong, powerful, she's amazing, she's smart, well educated, grounded. I gotta agree that, female characters and action heroes are more given airspace now, or if you say screen time, to talk about their backstory and make them a bit more stronger. What do you think?
I don't think for a start, I think that Rey never really had a proper backstory at all. She was just good at everything, and therefore she's a Mary Sue. But when it comes to, say, characters like Princess Leia, where she actually did have a backstory, but I mean, the backstory was she was a leader already, and she was a princess. That's why she's Princess Leia instead of just Leia, because people already assume that she has a leadership role, whereas Luke wasn't really given a prince title per se. So he had to learn to be the best. That's why in the Star Wars movies, Leia literally says, "You've got a power that I could never know," and Luke just says, "No, that's not true. You see, I have a sister, and you're it." In a gist kind of thing. So you can be a Jedi as well. And she freaks out and says, oh my God, I'm related to Vader. Okay. So, I think that I think that what makes Princess Leia so strong is that we already assume that she's a leader by the way that she behaves, but Star Wars has already given her a title. But Rey really doesn't have a title at all. She's just good at what she is, because without any backstory, without any knowledge of the character, without any knowledge of her parents or anything like that. In fact, we know absolutely nothing about her parents at all. Everyone has lots of assumptions that she was related to a Jedi or here or there, but there was no real grounding as to how she's so strong with the Force. There was no comic books written about her or anything. She was just good at what she did because she was female. And that's thanks to Kathleen Kennedy or whatever. But that's not to say that there haven't been strong female leads that haven't been in comic books. I mean, there's been lots of X-Men female characters like Storm, for example, which have been extremely powerful leads, which in my opinion actually had a really good backstory. And I think that's where they really did concentrate a lot of energy and time to add to the story. And that's why she's such, it's not just her power that makes her great, it's her backstory that makes her great as well.
Next question.
Hang on, before that, right? Before that, with backstories, a lot of backstories didn't start coming into existence on a lot of these movies when it comes to the superhero. They came in much later, but like how they became to be, and I think that's what makes a good storyline. You know, is the backstory. And if the backstory is somewhat believable, people are going to buy into it, and people are going to say, okay, this we feel sorry for this person, maybe, or you know, maybe it's a blessing, or maybe it's a curse, or whatever. But I think a good backstory is what sells a superhero. You know, whether or not we are for good or for evil. Like, why did this person do this, and this is a bad thing, and it's supposed to be a superhero? It's like I think it's a little gray area right now, especially with some of these superheroes that do questionable things, which, you know, I've seen that in some TV shows where the good guy has to play the role of bad guy. You know,
Well,
yeah,
the reverse, which is the
yeah,
bad guy that plays the good guy. I mean,
he gives himself for the cause.
like Joker, for example, is a perfect example of an anti-hero who's actually supposed. This is why Joker is such a great movie, because we all know that Joker is the bad guy, but the way that the story is told, it's almost like you're rooting for the bad guy because you feel sorry for him, and you understand that the reason why he's so messed up is because of his of how society treated him or was quite
His
neglectful.
backstory.
And that's what makes the Joker such an interesting character. But he's not even a good guy. He's a bad guy that we love. And throughout the whole movie, it's like, hey, I really support this guy. I'm ready to fight for this guy. And then you realize, hang on a minute, I'm rooting and fighting for a guy.
We're supposed to be rooting for the good guy. Why are we cheering for the bad guy?
But when we're supposed to be rooting for the good guy, but it's written so well.
That's the problem with some of these movies. You know, if you feel sorry for the bad guy, you want to be rooting for the bad guy. Where does that put you in a good guy versus bad guy scenario? You'd be rooting for the bad guy, and that's not the way that it works. You'd be blowing off half your quote unquote merch, because the merch is centered around the superhero.
Well,
if you got that kind of response, it doesn't quite work out the way it should, and then you're blown two characters.
Well, I kind of think that it's to make Joker that sort of movie where it makes you kind of feel all different types of emotions all at once. So first you feel, okay, not sorry for this person because he's clearly the bad guy. And then you feel like you do feel sorry for him because he's having a rough life. And then you feel because he's been, excuse the language, kicked the shit out of on a train station, and then he stands up for himself, you thought, well, this is just self-defense. But then when he starts leading an entire city, because there's a lot of people that feel neglected, you feel like going, hey, I want to join the cause. And then you're stuck with the thing of going, well, hang on a minute, I've just been going for the bad guy all this time, and he's like you said, done some questionable things. I shouldn't have been going for this guy to begin with. And then you feel a little bit guilty. And I think the movie Joker was just one of those perfect movies that made you elicit about 6 different emotions that often contradicted each other, and then makes you think, I know this is the bad guy, but I can't help but like this guy. It's actually, that's why I think that was actually a really good movie.
Now, next question. With George Lucas explored the idea of the hero's journey, which is originally found in Greek mythology, i.e. Hercules. Have our audiences expected that all modern day heroes today must have a hero's journey? I think we answered that one, but let's look a little deeper. Like, take for example, whether you're looking at Batman, Superman, Joker, Robin, Captain Planet, Iron Man, Captain America, Catwoman, Wonder Woman, Lois Lane. Have our audiences expected our modern day superheroes, to have a hero's journey, like from start of when they were born to adulthood to turning into that superhero. Like, take for example Spider-Man. Peter Parker, we all know, went to university and then one day got bitten by a spider, and then all of a sudden he became Spider-Man. Batman, his parents died after they got mugged, and then he became the Cape Crusader of Gotham City. Superman was a news journalist in the Daily Planet. You had Iron Man, who I'm not even sure what Iron Man did beforehand. Things like that. Have our audiences expected our superheroes to have this amazing journey? Let's lighten it up a little.
Okay, well, let me. Okay, well, Iron Man's, to be perfectly honest, is a snob. His backstory is basically sipping on martinis and being a complete smartass, or the guy that you'd like to beat up in high school. And then he became a paraplegic somehow, created his own heart, then became a superhero from a company that sold arms. So yeah, that's his backstory. Oh, and he rides in a red suit. Yeah.
What about you, Leon?
Well, that's what most of the movies are these days. Most of these superhero movies are these days. Just a normal person, and then there's a story in the middle, and then why, and then you'll find out how this person became this. So, to be honest, I like the Batman storyline, obviously, because, well, Batman, obviously, Spider-Man. I have seen the Spider-Man. All right, for the record, guys, I have seen a Spider-Man movie. And I have seen a Batman movie, but the problem is the Batman movie I saw was the 1970s one or the 1980s one, where Batman had like the purple lycra and that bat thingy in the middle. That shows you what the last time I watched a Batman. No, I can't say that. I can't say that. No, I did watch the. I can't remember which Batman it was, but obviously Batman's the main one that sticks out for mine. But he grew up. Obviously, he wanted to avenge the fella that the person that killed his parents. Next thing you know, he's become a businessman by day, very successful businessman by day, and is gym junkie at night and puts on a bat suit and just go out and saves people. But yeah, I think that's the kind. That's the one.
Let's not forget the Riddler and the Penguin. The Joker. Where did the Joker come from? The Joker came from the Riddler in the first. In the Batman that had the Jim Carrey series in it, when he played the Riddler. The Riddler's really
Wasn't that Batman Forever? Wasn't that Batman Forever 95?
I think so. And don't forget Mr. Freeze. We talk a lot about the good guys. Let's focus on the bad guys. So Riddler, Mr. Freeze, and Penguin.
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned Dr. Freeze, because Dr. Freeze is actually one of the few bad guys that actually has a legitimate story as to why you'd want to become a bad guy, and which was the fact that he was a scientist and they were doing tests on to try and save his wife, and Bruce Wayne Industries cut the power because basically he didn't want to have to pay for Freeze Industries. And as a consequence, his wife died. And for that reason, he wanted to seek revenge against Batman because he cut off the power. And that makes Batman look like a complete jerk, which he was, by the way. Dr. Freeze, even though, again, he seems like a bad guy, and he is, he's really someone just that's in great pain because he lost his wife.
Kind of reminds you of Two-Face, doesn't it?
It does, because he was actually a lawyer, and then got sprayed by another bad guy with acid or something like that. And he was actually really a really successful lawyer, really good lawyer that people actually looked up to. So he was Harvey Dent. And then he got dented.
I think the later movies with Two-Face, wasn't it the later movies with Two-Face? It was like Bruce Wayne wanted to save the girl and ended up saving the guy, and the girl died. And Two-Face ended up being in a hospital because he's hideously scarred. And then I can't remember if it was the Joker that came up to him, and then Two-Face was like, in the hospital, heard you win, tells you die. And quite frankly, the Joker ended up living, and the Two-Face tried to kill Batman.
Let's throw in a couple more names. We have Poison Ivy and the Green Lantern. Wasn't he a professor who, turned, not evil, but turned into the bad guy? Like, have you noticed most good guy superheroes were like, oh yeah, we absolutely love them, but we don't. The thing what I love about superheroes is we don't put in, we should be, but we don't put enough energy into the badasses who really make the movie pop, which is Catwoman, which is the Green Lantern, which is Poison Ivy. Poison Ivy is another one, because you have Poison Ivy and Catwoman in the same movie.
Like, see, the thing is, I could see Poison Ivy easily joining Peter for sure. I like, she's kind of one of those people that would definitely join Peter. If there was a branch of dangerous environmentalist terrorists that maybe Peter would start, Poison Ivy would definitely join that. But I remember the Riddler, he was a scientist as well, and he was just obsessed with Batman. And it was unfortunate because he really liked Batman, and Batman shafted him, and basically after that he hated him after that. So it was like a love-hate relationship. Can you imagine having a bad guy over someone you're really jealous of, and then you hate them because you're jealous of them?
And I think if you're looking at, say, for example, Catwoman and Poison Ivy in the same Batman movie, for example, Lois Lane in the TV series of Lois and Clark, Lois Lane in the movie Superman 1 and 2 of the late Christopher Reeve. I kind of feel bad for Lois Lane. I may feel bad for the other ones, but Lois Lane tugs at my heart because Lois Lane is also a news reporter by day who comes across as a damsel in distress when really, I think
she's a journalist.
Yeah, she's a journalist.
She's a hard-hitting journalist.
Yeah, but the thing is, back in the 80s, they didn't put enough emphasis on how to empower the woman because they want her to come across as, save me, rescue me, this.
No, when you mention it, you talk about women and empowerment and stuff like that. Here's a little fascinating fact for you, a little bit. We're going on the Batman thing, right? Catwoman, you did mention Catwoman, right? That actually originally was in the 1960s version of Batman. But the crazy thing is, one of the most independent women that you'll ever know, Leslie Gore, right? Singer, actress. She actually did play the character of Pussycat in the Batman series in the 1960s. And she used her womanly ways to try and seduce Robin. There you go. So that's a little bit of a backstory there for you too. For all those people that love music and also love Leslie Gore, just happen to know that Leslie Gore actually played Pussycat in Batman, and Leslie Gore was probably one of the most independent females that you'll know.
That's impressive.
That was the one where basically Batman legitimately danced with Catwoman in the 60s. And
also you saw the lame displays every time like a punch happened or something. You see like a punch and then kick, and these days, I would like to see that, but only for these days. That'd be tremendous to see.
I think that's a lot of fun. Let's look at the last two questions. Here we go. Are there just too many superheroes? Buckets.
To be honest, I think Marvel has just way too many. I mean, I think, okay, so I was actually reading about this earlier, and I heard that in the day, in around about the 80s, it was really, really, really hard to have crossovers. Marvel really didn't allow it. And DC was the same. They really didn't allow it. There was only one movie that had a crossover in the 80s, and that was between the Incredible Hulk and Thor. And there was one episode, and that was it. But for everything else, all the superheroes had their own shows, and they wouldn't allow them to have crossovers because to the producers in the 80s, it said it wouldn't make sense to combine the universes together, even though it works really well now, right? But to be honest, I think there's like, I watched the last Marvel movie, and I know, Leon, you can actually help me out on what the title of that last Marvel movie was. I think it was basically when all the superheroes got together and they
The Avengers.
yeah, the Avengers, but it was like the last one of them all. Game Plan or something, I don't know. But I found it really, really boring because it was basically like a 3-hour counseling movie about all the superheroes, backstories and the lost loved ones that they lost and whatever. And I know it was meant to be really, really, the best one, the best of them all, and it had 50 billion superheroes in it, but it didn't have any real action in it until the last 20 minutes, because the rest of the movie was taken up with just going through pretty much all of the superheroes, and I thought it was really, really boring. So in one, I think if you maybe put 2 or even 3 superheroes in the one series, over a period of time, I mean, it might be okay. But if you have like 60 in the one movie or the one series, it doesn't feel like that particular hero's story anymore. It just feels like another edition of another story. Like, I think one of the biggest complaints about, and I'm sorry to bring up Star Wars again, one of the biggest complaints about the Book of Boba Fett is that the last 2 episodes of the Book of Boba Fett really felt like another series of The Mandalorian, because it was basically, it involved Luke Skywalker,
The Mandalorian.
the Mandalorian,
Boba Fett.
well, it was Luke Skywalker, the Mandalorian, Grogu, which is, baby Yoda, and there are even episodes where there was like it didn't feel like the book of Boba Fett anymore, because Boba Fett was really only talked about in a conversation, as opposed to actually seeing Boba Fett, which I think is a real shame. And for a series that only really went for 7 episodes, it seems like half of the series is taken up by The Mandalorian. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love The Mandalorian, but if you're going to call it the Book of Boba Fett, the least you could do is have Boba Fett in it. Otherwise, it's not the Book of Boba Fett anymore. It's the Book of The Mandalorian.
The only thing I want to say about that question is, are they just too many superheroes? And this is just a quick thing. We have in Marvel, right? We have Captain America, we have Batman, we have Iron Man, we have Hercules, we have Spider-Man, we have all these sorts of characters, as Buckets was saying, which is in the Avengers, Captain America as well. All these characters in one movie felt like a counseling movie, because it's just, when you go to the movies and you're so excited about a superhero, right? Whether you're an adult or a child or, a parent or whoever in life, there are too many superheroes in one movie. Let's go back to originality and stick to one superhero that we can actually fall in love with. Because if you stick all these characters in one movie, it's just, it dilutes everything. The stories don't make sense. They're all going here, there, and everywhere. and it just doesn't make sense, doesn't add up to the beginning, middle, and an end. And for me to say that, yes, there are too many superheroes in one movie. Kids,
And also when it becomes to, it also goes to that movie. If you want to watch one of those kind of movies specifically for one character and it has like a small amount of dialogue, then you just wasted your money.
exactly.
That's the reason why those kind of movies, I think they should stick to, they have their own place in their comic universe or whatever. I think they should stick to that because the reason why they won't is because it's made them so much bloody money. I'm just having a look here as far as the Marvel. What am I looking at here? I'm looking at, say, this is an example. I'm looking at Avengers Infinity War. That's made them over $2 billion with a budget of 400 million, and they come back with 2 billion. So that's the reason why they'll keep putting these kind of movies together. These kind of movies that combine the Marvel universe or whatever because of the success that it has. Eventually, they're going to run out of plots and ideas, and they're going to have to bag it eventually.
Exactly.
But right now, they're not going to because it's so successful.
Yeah.
Well, I think that what they've done is that instead of looking at it at a story point of view, which is what I think they should really base their success on, they're doing it from a economic marketing point of view. So it's like basically whatever your superhero is, he or she is definitely going to be in this movie. So you should go see it because we've got something for everyone.
But what's worse about this is they've also got Thor in the Avengers. You're mixing Thor with all these superheroes, and your head just almost explodes because you're like, what's Thor got to do with Spider-Man or Batman or Captain America or Iron Man or this character and that character and Captain America and Incredible Hulk and all these superheroes, including Thor, and Aquaman? It's like, well, hello,
the thing is, I actually watched Captain America, like the first Captain America, and I really liked the fact that when they made Captain America, it was set in one of the world wars. Now, it's not really clear which world war it actually was. I'm not sure if it was World War I or World War II, but it was one of the world wars. But it felt good because Captain America's character sort of fit in with his philosophy, his environment, his his way of thinking, of course, and the reason why he's fighting who he's fighting, right? So he knows who his enemy is. He knows what he has to do to become the hero that he needs to become. Even though he started off as weak as piss, he wanted to become a hero, even though everyone's telling him, look, you're going to live longer if you don't join this war, which is a fair call. But he was born from the idea that this is like a World War I, World War II hero that just wants to do his bit. Then at the end of the movie, they basically crash him, put him in an iceberg, and then brought him back to the future where he's completely out of place. And I don't think the movies have been as great because you've got a World War II/World War I character fighting wars that are effectively either in the present day or the future. And it doesn't quite fit his character really well, to be honest. And that's what I didn't like about Captain America. But when you've got, characters like Wolverine, for example,
forgot him.
Wolverine he's basically invincible, but he was created by the government to kick ass, basically. And that's what
I forget the Wolverine, even though it's Hugh Jackman.
Good old Hugh Jackman.
Yeah. Trust an Australian to know how to fight, right?
Do you know what, just before we finish off, what I've noticed is it's like taking Transformers and putting and putting the Hulk in it, or Transformers versus.
I'm surprised that they didn't, to be perfectly honest, because they could have. They've done every other superhero. I mean, the only person that they're honestly missing is Super Ted.
Or Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles versus.
Super
Yeah.
Ted.
Yeah, seriously, they should have
What
put
a
Super
name!
Ted
What a
in the
name that
Marvel
was. I
movie.
think I was that from the 80s.
Yeah, let's put Super Ted and we'll put Spotty in there.
And Captain Planet.
Yeah, that's right. We'll put
The
Captain
Ninja
Planet. We'll throw them all in, right? And then
I think they did at one stage. I think they did one stage. I think it was called the Cartoon All Stars or something. I think it might have been back in 1990, but I know there was some sort of message around it. I just can't remember what it was. But it was one of those rare occasions where they broke the fourth wall in cartoons, where they brought in cartoons, say like the Ninja Turtles. I'm pretty sure they were in this one. Plus cartoon characters that were from different cartoons, and they brought them all in and just one. It's been a very long time. I think I've only ever seen this cartoon once, but if you go, I reckon you probably find it on YouTube or something. The cartoon, I think it was called the Cartoon All Stars. That's one of the very few times where cartoons actually broke that fourth wall. Now, there has been a couple of times where that has been broken. Obviously, the Jetsons with the Flintstones. That's one of those situations where they broke the fourth wall in cartoons. And other examples when the Simpsons teamed up with Family Guy for that one episode as well. So
I'd love to see Simpsons, King of the Hill, Futurama, Family Guy, American Dad, all smashed into one superhero.
It's actually
well,
funny.
Hang on. You mentioned that. The Simpsons actually did that with a cameo with King of the Hill at one stage. They did that one time.
And they actually did create a sort of a card power game, right? Where whoever had the top card, and you could mash them together and play on a game where it actually did convert all of the ones you just mentioned, which was Simpsons, King of the Hill, Futurama, and there was one other one as well. What was the other one? The fourth one you mentioned? So
American Dad.
American Dad. There you go. Yes. So it had American Dad, Simpsons, Futurama, and King of the Hill all together, and it mashed that up and turned that into
Family Guy. Don't forget Family Guy.
Oh yes, and it also had Family Guy as well. I can't remember the actual name of the game, but you can actually download it from my apps or whatever.
Yeah.
So they actually did have that, and although they technically haven't done it per se, you know, in their own cartoons, they've definitely thought about it, because they all would have had to have had you know, they've all had kind of jokes around surrounding each other. You know, like Futurama jokes have basically you know, sought permission off the Simpsons to get to make a series about them, and Family Guy have done it to the Simpsons as well. Even South Park even made a deal with the Simpsons to do to basically
Do a cameo.
to the cameo, and then literally just turned on.
I think I've seen something like that happened with an episode of South Park where for some reason they started turning into Simpsons characters after they were hallucinating, and one of these guys started hallucinating, started seeing things because he was trying to find ways to kill everybody. And for some reason, the payoff would always end up being that one of the members of the Simpsons did that already, and it drove him crazy. And next thing you know, all the South Park characters ended up looking like Simpsons characters. I remember that episode.
I just remember one of the episodes where they said, "Hey, let's look at the television to see what other Cartoon Networks would do in this situation." And you know, Cartman's just like, "Dude, we're not that desperate." Turn the
television. Let's finish it off.
Just for the record, guys, remember I mentioned about that cartoon thing? It was called Cartoon All Stars to the Rescue back in 1990. I knew I was onto something there.
Let's finish it off by asking our new viewers, which I'd like to welcome our new viewers and current viewers and subscribers. The three of us would like to ask you, who are your favorite superheroes, why, and what makes them unique, and what's your favorite backstory about them, and which superhero would you like to see, you know, have his or her own hero's journey, hero story, and what's your favorite memory of them?
Oh, me first, or
Hey,
me first? That's not my superhero.
No, that's for our viewers and subscribers to talk about.
Oh, damn it, not us.
No.
Oh, what?
Time's run out.
Oh, I was going to tell the whole.
No, it's all right. Thank you so
We
much.
could be here all day. Seriously.
Thank you so much for joining us, Leon. We will see you next week. Don't forget to subscribe on our YouTube page and click that bell. That bell will give you all the content that you need to watch on our podcast. We're also on anchor.fm and on Spotify as well. Make sure you follow us everywhere. Tell your friends and family and let us know in the comments what you like, what you don't like, and who your favorite superheroes are.
Also, tell your enemies as well. It'll spread quicker.
So thank you so much. And we look forward to joining you next week. Until then, good night.
Bye.
Bye, Leon.
Bye.